What's up, YouTube? All right, let's see what we got here today. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late for office hours, but we are here. I need to shut some of this stuff here. I have too much stuff open. All right. Whoops! I just shut the YouTube live stream. That was not good. Let me bring that back up. All right, we are back. Hello to all of the Instagram followers. Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today on this beautiful Tuesday? Hopefully well. I got YouTube open. I got YouTube live stream open. I got Instagram open here with our trusty monkey saying hi to everybody for the people who can see on Instagram. And yeah, I would love to just open it up for any questions. I think in terms of latest updates, we're getting closer and closer to be able to, hey Tim, hey John, we're getting closer and closer to be able to launch WSO Alpha and our new daily newsletter, markets newsletter, which is going to be called the Daily Peel, which is going to be kind of a snapshot where we peel back the layers of the stock market and alternative investing assets. It includes real estate, that includes crypto, and all this stuff, but we do it in a really fun way. Kind of highlighting what's ripe, what's rotten, and stuff like that. So that's going to be coming out, I'm guessing sometime in July. So I don't want to promise the exact launch date because I want to make sure we have all the right people on board before we do that. Saria Bram said, are you dropping any merch soon? We have Wall Street Oasis t-shirts. There's an easy way to actually easy way to get a t-shirt just by helping us out. If you're on YouTube live stream, I can show you a free t-shirt, 5 minutes. We kind of bribe people here. 4 simple steps, 5 minutes to get a free WSO t-shirt and help WSO out. We basically say, hey, if you could just give us reviews on podcasts, subscribe to our YouTube channel, stuff like that, and then you just send us an email and we shoot you over a free t-shirt. You already have a shirt. Okay, so if you already have a shirt, then you don't need to do it. For those of you that don't have a shirt, you can check this thread out. It's called 4 Simple Steps, 5 minutes to get a free WSO t-shirt. So you can look that up. And we pay for shipping, we pay for everything, so it's literally $0. So yeah, somebody asked, am I hiring? I am hiring for a couple of roles. One is a newsletter author role. So I'm looking for somebody to help with the daily newsletter. It's probably an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. This can turn into a full-time role if the person wants it. So if it's somebody who really loves the markets, who really loves actually writing about the markets, crypto, alternative asset classes, and they don't have to be a finance wizard because the free newsletter is not going to have any sort of opinions on what stocks to buy or anything like that. It's more just a fun recap. So what's more important is that you're actually funny and you're a great writer, so that you can entertain the subscribers on that end. So we're looking for kind of that free Daily Peel newsletter author to help us with that. And I'm taking applications now, reviewing kind of samples. And then we also are hiring for just WSO Alpha, which will be the paid premium subscription service where we're actually going to be trading a mock portfolio with a team of analysts that come from impressive kind of hedge fund equity research background. So we're still looking for some people there to help us manage that portfolio so that we can kind of give people guidance, that people who have a long time horizon, we can give them guidance and show them kind of what we would do with our own portfolio, not financial advice, just opinions on kind of how we would manage our own portfolio and how I would manage my own portfolio and how I am managing my own portfolio. I'm a little older. I'm a little on the older side, but I'm still pretty aggressive. So I think it applies for a lot of the young audience of WSO. For anybody that wants to apply for either role, just shoot over a resume to Patrick at wallstreetoasis.com. If you're more interested in the newsletter stuff, just say the Daily Peel, or just say newsletter role in the subject. For people who are more interested in the mock portfolio trading side, or investing side, I should call it, because we're not looking for day traders, we're not looking for trend traders, we're looking for people who are looking for long-term investment horizons. So people who are doing deep fundamental value, but also aren't afraid of growth stocks. So that's going to be more like WSO Alpha side of the business. So I'm looking for probably 2 to 3 hires to help us with that, to help supplement the team that we already have on board, ready to go. But yeah, we're super excited about this. I think it's going to be hugely popular, and it's something that we should have done a long time ago, but it's just been tough. Tough to get the right people in place. Would the newsletter position be available for college students? I'm willing to, for the newsletter position, yes, I'm willing to consider college students if you're great writers. For sure. Yeah. No reason not to apply. Of course, it is a pretty big commitment, and it would be year round. It's not something I'm looking for. This is not an internship. It's something where, specifically, it would be probably anywhere from 10 to 15 hours a week commitment. So it's significant. John Smith says, good luck to Grace. Yeah, good luck to Grace, John, for sure. I don't think she needs much luck after how well she's done. Jero Garcia says, hey, Patrick, I'm starting my own networking journey for investment banking. LOL, wish me luck. Good luck, Jero Garcia. Jero, just remember, have your first few documents kind of button up really nicely. Get people in the industry to kind of help review the resume. Make sure that's buttoned up and as polished as can be. No typos, nothing messed up there before you kind of start blasting things everywhere and getting on a bunch of calls. Make sure that stuff's buttoned up first. Just a little word of advice. But I really appreciate all you guys. If you could hit the like button, subscribe, whatever, pass on the word. I do this because I love it. I love actually giving advice and helping people in their anywhere, wherever they are in their journey, whether they're undergrads, whether they've graduated and maybe they're not on the path they want to be, but they're looking to kind of either build the skills or understand kind of how to actually navigate what's a very competitive set of industries. So let's see what else we got here. Let's see if we have any questions here. For Sacha59 says, concerning Europe offices, would you choose DB or BMP and M&A? Brand name speaking, I'm not really sure because I'm not up to date on the league tables and stuff. I would really look at culture, so I'd try to look up on the company database. If you're looking at the YouTube live stream, you can see my screen, but you go into resources, you go to company database. I would look up both DB and BMP in the European offices and see if you can get some reviews, some honest reviews in there about what the culture is like. But then, more importantly, if you're coming in as a junior, what you want to see is deal flow. So I would make sure I would look at the specific groups that kind of have the most deals and see if you're actually able to determine which groups you go into and decide on that. Because that's going to be the most important thing as a junior, is making sure you're getting deal experience. So that's what I'd say. Somebody asked, is that author job good to be remote? Yes, you can be remote. Doesn't matter where you need to be. My whole team is remote. We've been remote before COVID. So yeah, remote is not an issue. I'm in California, near kind of Bay Area, near Apple and Netflix, but you can be anywhere. All right, here we go. What else we got here, guys? I appreciate you too. Are we still accepting partnership applications for student organizations? Yes, we are. Actually, that reminds me, if you're part of a student partnership organization, we just sent out an email about our boot camps that are coming up. We have a boot camp not this weekend, but the following weekend, June 5th and 6th, we have a financial modeling. And I'll pull it up here, the event calendar, because that'll be the easiest way to kind of show what's coming up. We have, office hours next week, again on Tuesday. Then we have financial modeling evaluation, a 2-day boot camp over the weekend, June 5th and 6th. Then we also have, a private equity interview 1-day boot camp. That thing is going to be intense. We actually had it at 2 days. We consolidated it into 1 day to make it super high impact and to be able to bump the price even lower. That's actually like a steal. It's $497, but you get the private equity interview course, which is already $300, and you get direct access and like a bunch of you're going to be running through a bunch of cases and really be able to nail that. So that's going to be June 19th. And then we actually just launched a new real estate modeling for just a 4-hour half-day boot camp. And like these boot camps are dirt cheap if you compare what other companies charge, and we have like the top professionals running them. So I would absolutely take a look at that. If you prefer live training, you don't want to just get the online course and you want to have force yourself to kind of get through the content faster, I would definitely check that stuff out, because those are all coming up in a week to 2 to 3 weeks. And we got about 30 seats, a 30-seat cap on each one. So check it out if you're interested. I didn't mean for this live stream to be an advertisement, so I'm sorry about that. It just popped in my head because somebody asked about the student organization. So we do, if you're a member of a student organization, we do oftentimes will send out special discount links for the students in that organization. It's not a huge percentage off. It's like, $50 off, $100 off from time to time. That's what we do with our student groups. Steven asks, best interview tips that result in an offer. Well, besides knowing your technical interviews, is not underestimating the behaviorals and the basic questions like why this firm and why this industry, and not having a cookie cutter answer of just, oh, it's really interesting, I want to learn a lot. It's really about making sure you're good at developing a genuine connection with people. So that means like when you're delivering your answer, do you come across as genuine, or are you coming across as like a robot that's practiced this 1,000 times and are just reciting something that you wrote down? And it's a big difference. If it's too polished, too robotic, it doesn't come across as genuine, and the person can just think, this person doesn't really want it. They've just practiced a lot. If you're actually able to make good eye contact like this, I'm looking at my YouTubers right now, or like this, I'm looking at my Instagram people right now. The eye contact is critical. The smiling is critical. The energy is critical. So in terms of best interview tips, assuming you hit all the technicals and you have all that baseline, it's not underestimating all the soft skills, because what people want to make sure is they actually like you, that they want to be, stuck in the bullpen with you, working with you, stuck in the airport with you. You don't want to give them any reason to think, man, it would be painful to be with this person. So it can be talking about things outside of finance. It's better to have other interests that you can speak to that makes you a dynamic, more well-rounded person, and not somebody who just was born with the Wall Street Journal in their hand and has wanted to do finance since they were 5 years old or 1 year old. See what else we got here. Instagram, as usual. Oh no, we got a couple here on. We got a couple more questions here. Hey, Steve, thanks. Appreciate the kind words. Here we go. Sanat asks, hey, Patrick, could you provide some guidance on how to negotiate for salary, base and bonus part at a boutique bank? Hey, Sanat. So before going into any negotiation, I think it's really important that you understand what's your BATNA, or best, I think it's like best agreement to a best alternative to a negotiated agreement, BATNA, I think it's called. So what's your alternative, right? You can obviously be much more aggressive if you have another offer in your back pocket. If you don't have another offer in your back pocket and the alternative to this job is being unemployed, then I would be very careful, because it has happened before where people push too hard in negotiation and it leaves a bad taste in whomever's mouth, whether it's HR, whether it's the partner. When there's potentially another candidate that they liked almost equally that's willing to take the job. Over negotiating for comp at the junior level is typically a bad idea. Now, I'm not saying that it can't be done, but it's got to be done with a lot of care and a lot of kind of done in a way that's very gracious. So if it's done with specifically like data around base and bonus, let's say that analysts are getting paid, let's say 65 at this boutique bank. Let's say they're getting paid 65,000 base and let's say $40,000 bonus on average. The bonus part you're not really negotiating up front, so there's not really much you can do. But if the base, let's say they come to you and they say, we're going to give you a $50,000 base or blah blah blah. At that point, if you have data on what other people are getting paid at the analyst level, and you can find that, I'm going to the company database again. Surprise, surprise. There's actually a lot of good data even on like boutiques. So let's say you're at like, say you're looking at like a SunTrust, and we pull up SunTrust, and SunTrust, for whatever reason, you're a lateral hire, and they're kind of they lowball you for whatever reason. In that case, I think it's easy to say, well, I've done some. Is there a specific reason why the offer was lower? Is this in a different group? Because I've noticed that first-year analysts are getting paid, $80,000 to $85,000 for $80,000. Or if I'm a second-year analyst, it's $85,000 base. So you have this data literally right here, guys. So I think in that case, it's okay to bring it up. I would doubt that they would lowball you unless it's a very odd reason. This is more likely to happen at a very tiny boutique. So let's say you're at a very tiny boutique, you have another offer, and you're able to kind of play off and be a little bit more aggressive with one. Then you could literally just go to this and say, hey, I'm looking at the compensation for a lot of boutiques, and I'm seeing it's closer to 70 to 75,000 as market for base salary. Is that something that you guys think you could hit? Now, if it's a tiny 2-person shop where they've offered you 50 and you're asking for 70, it's probably a non-starter. But if they've offered you 60 and then you're showing them data that 70 is actually more market, then it's possible they at least move you up to 65, and that conversation just made you $5,000. Congratulations. You just got to be careful. I think what's more important is to try and end up at a spot that is going to give you deal flow and just even get some sort of experience that's true investment banking, where you're doing some sort of M&A, buy side, sell side engagements, so that you can lateral. Now remember, there is going to be, what I predict, a massive shortage of talent, even at the top banks at the lateral level, assuming the economy doesn't fall apart. Come June, I expect there to be a massive exodus of investment bankers from the industry, and the first years are going to leave, second years are going to leave. I think at the highest rate that we've probably ever seen, because of work from home and because of how demoralizing this past year has been for a lot of the analysts and even associates in the group. So what I'd say is, if you're able to get into a role at any bank, even if it's a tiny boutique bank and it's not a very good or well-known or brand name bank, but get some of that deal experience or get some of the kind of buzzwords on your resume and not be unemployed when you graduate I guess now, most of you are graduating now. That's a lot more important than trying to find the perfect place or an elite boutique or a bulge bracket bank. Take whatever you can take. Being employed is more important. And then guess what? There's going to be a huge lateral market in a few months. Probably the end of this summer, banks are going to realize we have a massive shortage of junior talent. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities that that should allow you to actually really upgrade within 6 to 12 months to a much better brand name bank, if you can get your foot in the door somewhere. Let's see what else we got. Not looking for software developers. Sorry. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, Jasper says, how does the mentorship program work at WSO? So I'll pull it up here on the YouTube live stream for those of you curious. We have, I think, over 1,000 mentors now, or I think 803 that have been certified, but over 1,000 in the pipeline that are coming through. I just have to review them. But basically, if you're I tell people the mentor program is best if you're looking for a mock interview or for like a career consultation and you're in like some sort of transition. So if you're actually have an interview in like tomorrow or in the next 5 days or in the next couple weeks and you want to practice, you can literally go, okay, I want somebody in investment banking or private equity, say private equity. I want somebody in the Americas. And it'll basically show you anybody with private equity experience that's done the most sessions right here with the highest rankings. So you can kind of select who you want to do your thing, or you can purchase hours this way, anywhere from 30 minutes, a 30-minute session to a 1-hour session to a package of 5 hours if you're really looking to kind of get more reps. But we have a ton of incredible mentors here, but a lot of people don't even know that this exists. It's not cheap, so I would say you should come into that pretty prepared. You shouldn't be coming into this like if you haven't done any interview prep. You should practice with your friends, get good, get really a lot better, and then have the professional come in and like as your final polish, figure out, hey, where are you weak? Is it as good as your friends say you are, or are you actually ready for prime time for the super day? So that's how I would use it. We're trying. There's been a lot of in my head. I know this is a lot of money for a lot of people. To be honest, this is our lowest margin business. We barely make anything on this since the people we're hiring are super expensive. But I'm trying to figure out ways we can get it to people even less. I haven't been able to do that yet. It's just been so busy with WSO Alpha stuff and the new newsletter. But ideally, I'm trying to figure out ways we can get. There's a lot of mentors that would be willing to do this for even less. I just want to make sure that the quality's there for everybody that does use the program. So I'm still kind of trying to work that out, but maybe by next year we'll be able to have a different kind of level, maybe for students to pay less, stuff like that for people with .edus or something like that. But that's kind of where we're at right now. Yeah, but stay tuned. Let's see. Somebody asked, any tips of PowerPoint skills to know before the internship? I'm working as an MMB summer analyst role this summer in their healthcare M&A group. And then it stopped. Okay, well, we have a PowerPoint for finance course, money on it. You want to just practice. The best thing you can do is actually just, you can actually just prep the quick keys. So just like Excel, PowerPoint has a lot of ways you can become a lot more efficient. So what you don't want to be doing is sitting there using your mouse and looking like you don't know what you're doing and aligning logos with your mouse and not using the quick keys, not using the ribbon, the speed ribbon. So if you're able to get reps putting presentations together, aligning objects, knowing all about ninja lines, all this stuff, this is really what's going to set you apart and make you more efficient. And so in terms of prep, you don't need to buy a course if you want to save money and you want to just drill, but you do need to drill and to practice if you want to become efficient. It's unbelievable after a year of banking, you're basically living in Excel and PowerPoint. So by the end of that, your efficiency has literally tripled. A lot of the college kids are like, oh yeah, I'll put a PowerPoint together for a class. I'm like, no, this is a different level. This is a different level where if you're not fast, you're not efficient, and you're not detail oriented in terms of aligning every little last thing, you tend to hear it. So do you have to have it beforehand? No. Is it helpful to have? Yes. Sanat asks, is there any way that's really helpful? Is there any way I can get a one-on-one conversation with you? Sanat, I don't do any of the mentor programs anymore. And to be honest, I'm not the best person to talk to. I've been out of the industry for almost 2 decades, and my gray hair is showing that. So if you're looking for like actual career advice or mock interview advice, the best place to go is, besides the company database that has tens of thousands of interview questions, is to actually practice with somebody who's much closer to the recruiting, and is going to give you kind of much more direct advice around how to answer certain things. Ugandar said, Wall Street Oasis helped me land an internship at Goldman Sachs. Awesome. Woo. Congrats, man. That's awesome. Sarim asked, does Stifel have a good reputation on the street? It's a well-known bank. I think, yeah, it has a decent reputation. I think, like any bank, it has its ups and downs. So Stifel, by the way, we're going to be cleaning. The company database has way too many dupe companies right now. We're cleaning that up over the next couple weeks. So stay tuned. It'll be a little bit cleaner with getting rid of those dupe companies. But yeah, again, I would check here, check the thread, check the forums. If you type in Stifel reputation, you're probably going to get some good threads. This is only from a year and a half ago. Stifel reputation, culture groups, and there's 21 comments there, so that's a great place to look for people looking for a reputation of Stifel. Again, the forums tend to know a lot more. There tend to be a lot more knowledge and wisdom in the crowd than just coming from my mouth. Ice Cream Meme says, will you be taking new mentees for Monkey to Millions? I do occasionally look for new mentees, and I am potentially looking to bring somebody on in the next couple months, mostly because I'm not sure if Victor is going to continue. So if Victor drops off, for sure I'll have at least one opening. So if you're interested, you can definitely shoot me a message. No promises though in terms of whether I can take it on or not. Tough guy, cool guy, tough guy. I don't know why we're saying cool guy, tough guy, but okay. I live in Japan. Congratulations, Yuria. I've never been to Japan. I want to go. Thank you. Haha, thank you. Somebody's requesting to be in my live video. I don't know if that's a good idea. Anything else? Anything else? I'm trying to think other ways I can be helpful. Well, for people who are kind of going into their internship, I think you can do a little prep beforehand in terms of quick keys in Excel, quick keys in PowerPoint. Make sure you have kind of the basics down. But I think one of the best things you can do is rest and get into the right mindset and make sure you have the right attitude. So, getting the internship's one thing, getting the full-time offer is completely different, and you have to be willing to kind of go above and beyond during that summer with, of course, your health considerations. If there's underlying health issues, be careful out there. Don't go insane and do 3 all-nighters in a row. We've had some very unfortunate incidents over the years. And I feel like there's a level of kind of going above and beyond, and then there's, the fact that if you haven't slept for 2 nights, no one's going to blame you for going home and sleeping. Gautam asks, is a master's in finance worth it? Gautam, good question. Is a master's in finance worth it? It really depends what master's in finance. If it's one of the top programs and you can see that the placement for those master in finance programs is decent, then yes, it could be a great way to reset and get back into recruiting. But big word of warning, if you're an international student, they tend not to place as well into the US. So a lot of internationals come, they spend $50,000, $60,000 on a master's in finance thinking they are going to break into investment banking, and it doesn't work out that way for many of them. So please understand the odds and don't assume that you're going to defy the odds. If that money is real money. Now, if you come if $50,000 is chump change to you and you can take the risk and take the swing, then go for it. Let's see here. Linda Ross says, is there only 24 people on here? Yes, I think it's 24 or 25 right now. Yeah, it's light. Maybe everyone's just partying because maybe everyone's just out and having a good time because it's beautiful out now that it's May. And people maybe just finished finals and they don't want to talk careers, and it's all good. It's all good. I love all 25 of you or all 30 of you now. It doesn't have to be a big group for it to be valuable. And plus, several thousand people watch us after we post it. So, Gotham says, I'm planning an MSc in Finance in Frankfurt School in Germany. Yes, the Master's in Finance is very much more common in Europe. And it's actually very common to be recruited straight out of those programs into investment banking and finance. I thought you're referring to the Master's in Finance in the U.S. Let's see. Are you Kevin Jonas? Not that I know of. So what's everyone think? Are the Celtics going to beat the Nets? tonight? Probably not. Unfortunately, looks like it's going to be a quick exit. For breaking into investment banking between the MS in finance and MBA in finance, Gotham, it really depends what region, what MBA versus what master's in finance. That's a tough question. Steve says, I'm not getting many interview callbacks. What would I do to change that? So Steve, are you dropping your resume into like online applications, or are you doing informational sessions with people you've reached out to and contacted? That's the first question. So if you're just dropping your resume into a black hole of the online portals and you're not at a top school with a top GPA, you're basically wasting your time at most banks. If your resume isn't super polished, you're gone. If you're not at top school, you're likely gone. If you don't have the right GPA, you're likely gone. So you see all the hurdles you got to pass to actually get any callbacks from online applications. Steve, it's not going to work, buddy. People like to feel like they're busy by applying to 40 jobs online. I was good today. I did 40 jobs online. Well, guess what? It doesn't mean shit. You're not going to get a job dropping your resume to online applications. I'll repeat that. You're not going to get a job 99% of the time by dropping your resume to online applications. Now, this is for high finance jobs I'm talking about. You want to get a job in high finance, you need to build relationships with actual people who work in high finance. So that means you have to have actually know what investment banking is. You have to know the different divisions. You have to know, do you want to go sales and trading? Do you want to eventually go buy side? What do you want to do? And if you can have a very coherent answer to that, if you can show that you have a lot of knowledge specifically around the industry and you've done a lot of research, then from there, it's, are you comfortable actually building relationships? So are you willing to put yourself out there, reach out to 200 people every single day, only hear back from 5 to 10 of them, and then only get on a call for 1 to 2 of them, and then have 5 calls a week explaining kind of what you're looking for, learning about those people, and starting to follow up on them. If you're able to build, kind of play the long game, then that's how you're going to start getting a lot more interviews. Because if you're trying to play the short, easy game where you click a button and your resume is submitted, guess what? It's going into a hole with 10,000 other resumes. Why are they picking your resume out? They're probably not even getting looked at 99% of the time. So, so I don't know what to tell you. Just look at anything, any of the advice I give to any of my mentees on Monkey to Millions, on our the podcast and show I do on YouTube where I'm mentoring kids. You don't see me ever telling them go apply to 1,000 jobs on Indeed. No, that's really not gonna do anything. So yeah, I mean, until you start getting into that habit of talking with people and getting really good about talking with people, yes, you need the polished resume. You need to make sure it's perfect in the sense no alignment, font. Are there different font sizes? I've seen this, resumes, even the resumes I get coming through WSO where there's tons of advice on this. I'd say half have spacing issues, half have slightly different fonts occasionally, and there's wrapping onto second lines, or there's issues with grammar, or there's punctuation issues. That's an immediate throwaway. If you can't get your resume, it's a 1-page document. If you can't get that resume polished and very close to perfect, you're done. So what I'd say is that needs to be looked over, not twice, 3 times, 5. It needs to be looked over about 30 to 40 times. Rewritten, write it, figure out a way to get the buzzwords on there. If you're looking for banking, for example, do you not have self-study, DCF, financial modeling training on there? Are you a biology major? Well, then how the hell are you going to get some finance stuff on there? Are you not in a member of associations? These are all these things stack up. They're all little deals, but by the end, are your interests generic or are they interesting? Would I want to talk to you, Steve? I don't know. So let's move on. My rant for the day. Ugandar says, do you think bulge bracket banks prefer students from target schools over non-target? I think, target school kids. It's not that the banks prefer students from target school kids over non-targets. The employees at the bulge bracket banks that, guess what, happen to be primarily from target schools prefer their own alumni to the non-target schools. So remember, it's not the banks putting a preference, it's the people hiring who they want to hire. And so that's what makes it being from a non-target so hard, is you're not getting the accelerator recruiting, you're not getting the on-campus recruiting. So the bulge brackets, they prefer students in the sense that the people that are running the processes tend to like to hire people that went to the same school as them. So in that sense, yes. And so it is harder from a non-target to even get those interviews, which makes networking even that more important. I mean, it means not when I say I hate the word networking because it has this huge thing. I'll just start saying, which makes relationship building and who you know that much more important. And people say, I don't know anybody in the industry. My parents are doctors, or my parents were blue collar workers, and I don't know a thing about finance. They think I'm going to be a stockbroker. Well, guess what? Like, go start talking to people and start explaining your story and trying to figure out what all the nuanced careers within Wall Street. People's like, I'm interested in finance. I'm really passionate about finance. And I'm like, that's such a horrible thing to say, like in an interview or in an info session, because it's so generic. What's a much better way to come across as knowledgeable and come across as somebody who actually they should waste their time on is when you say something like, you know, I'm still learning a lot about this, and I know in investment banking there's mergers and acquisitions, and this. Let's say you were talking to somebody in restructuring, so I know there's mergers and acquisitions, and I know on the restructuring side there's debtor work versus creditor work. I know you work at Houlihan. Are you guys doing mostly debtor work, or are you doing mostly creditor work? So the fact that a college kid even knows what that is, immediately that analyst or that associate is gonna be like, oh, okay. I can actually talk to this person. They've actually done their research. So you see the difference between that versus you're asking a question, asking the person to come out and give you kind of insight, versus somebody who's coming there and trying to pitch yourself saying, I'm just so passionate about finance, and Houlihan is such an incredible firm because you guys did this one deal and da-da-da. It's not as interesting, and it comes across as less genuine. So that's what I'd say. Wami777, sup, bro? Hey, bro. Here, one suggestion I would throw out there is for students to participate in the National Investment Banking Competition. It's a case study competition that looks great on the resume. Great advice from Linda Ross. Thank you, Linda Ross, for that suggestion. So yeah, people who are non-traditional candidates, having stuff like that on the resume is even more important. Got a couple more minutes here. And Kathy asks, is the networking rule for IB also for management consulting? Hey, Kathy, I think the networking rule in building relationships is for all of life and all of interviewing indefinitely for the rest of your life. So the earlier you come to the realization that you're never going to reach your full potential in your career until you start meeting more people and talking to more people, unless you're in like a super narrow technical field of like coding and you're just some wizard coder where the Google brings you in and puts you in a corner and to create some incredible algorithms. Almost every single job is going to be team oriented. It's going to be about who you know and who likes you. So for Kathy Tang's asking, is the networking rule for IB? That rule is really global. It's not just about finance. It's if you're going into marketing, if you're going into management consulting, if you're going into starting your own business, if you're going into, some other careers, architecture, if you're going into anything. It's all about who you know and how they perceive you. So it's important that you do your research beforehand, especially before you kind of start talking to some of the employees at the firms that you really have your eyes set on. Any advice for lateraling between summer analysts and full-time? I think the summer analysts, Jerry, good question. I think the summer analysts tend to give you a little bit of time before your offer explodes. I think a lot of them have a signing bonus that's higher if you sign right off the bat. But it's not something where like it explodes right away. So you can have time to kind of try and leverage your offer, Jerry. If that's what you want to do, if you want to try to upscale. Although I'll say, I think the banks, usually fill most of their full-time seats, at least initially, with their own summer analysts. So there's not that many seats open at the end of the summer. Although that may change this year because there might be such a large exodus of first years, more than any other year because of work from home and how bad it's been. That this year they actually might be looking to upsize. Once they realize that they're so short, they might be looking to increase their class size. So there might be room for people to lateral. And by the way, that has trickle down effects. So people at SunTrust and Houlihan are suddenly leveraging their full-time offer to jump into full-time at Goldman, at Morgan Stanley, at JP Morgan, at Deutsche, at Credit Suisse, at whatever. Suddenly, what does that do? Then all of a sudden there's a low yield on these middle market banks. Then all these people who are late to the game, maybe that's some of you, suddenly have interviews. So don't think because this year specifically, don't think because you don't have a summer analyst internship that all is lost. I really think there's going to be a lot of opportunities over the next year to break in. So that's good news. Let's see what else we got here. I can do a couple more. Hey guys, hey. Hello from India. Thanks for joining so late at night. Cole's asking your thoughts on Florida, Dallas become a new financial hub. I don't know. I think for sure there's been a shift there. I don't know. I think the death of New York maybe has been overdone a little bit. From what I can tell from my friends there that are still there, it's kind of really coming back to life lately, and rentals and everything are picking up and the buildings are filling right back up. I think it's going to be tough to ever truly see New York lose its status as the largest financial hub of the U.S. If the pandemic had continued, if there was no vaccine, the pandemic had continued for longer, I think we would have seen a much more prominent and permanent damage done to New York. But there's definitely a shift. I mean, it's just a question of, what your style is and where you want to live. Obviously, the tax implications of Florida, Dallas, or Florida and Texas do play a role. Let's see here. Thoughts on transitioning from investment banking in LA to private equity VC in New York? Well, Shiram, you're lucky because everything's been virtual, and on cycle basically didn't happen this year for private equity recruiting. So it's kind of the best year to jump across the country because you're kind of on even playing field as most is. I said evil. You're evil. No, you're on even playing field for getting wherever you want. That being said, things are going to be opening up a lot this summer. So if you can get into the process early, I expect private equity interview recruiting. Eventually, some of these large mega funds have to start interviewing for next year. So I think you can do it. I think it's just a question of, again, are you building up that network while you're doing IB in LA? And I think having a good story of why you want to be in New York is big. But the other thing I'd say is if you do fly, and I don't know how supportive your bank in LA is, that's the other real kind of make it tough. If they don't want you to go to PE or VC, or they're not supportive of the jump to the buy side, it can make it super difficult on top of the cross country thing. If you do make a trip out to New York for like final round, super day, whatever, this summer, what I'll say is try to just make sure you're building up those connections beforehand and let them know you're coming in from LA to New York, and be like, it would be great to meet the team, so you can kind of stack, ideally meeting with 3 to 4 funds in that 1 week, rather than having 1 or 2 flying back and then having to go back to meet with a couple more. So just really kind of try to stack and be on top of the communication as much as possible, so you can kind of stack it in 1 week, or in 3 or 4 days, even better, so your IB in LA doesn't get pissed. Thoughts on Boston as a financial center? Boston really known more for buy-side private equity than for banking. You got TA and Summit there. Another a bunch of other kind of big private equity shops, but and obviously Fidelity asset managers. So not so much as like a IB financial center, but it does have finance there. I tried to move back to Boston. I got a private equity job right after banking at Rothschild, and then I got fired. That sucked. So I had to move back to New York. Let's see here. Hero said, WSO helped me land a job at a bulge bracket, and I'm from a non-target. Thank you. No, thank you for the kind words. Awesome to hear. Super stoked for you. How do I navigate full-time recruitment? From Andrew. I have a PE junior summer internship. Well, you have a PE junior summer internship. I'm not sure what private equity firm that is. If it's a good one, then do you have a potential full-time offer from that private equity fund and potentially skip banking? So it's tough to know. Thoughts, info on the Point72 Academy. Go call. I actually had a podcast with Jamie over at Point72, who runs the academy. Might want to check out that podcast episode. We go into a little bit more depth there. It's super competitive to get into, but I think it sounds like it's an awesome place to kind of be trained as a trader, and a lot of people. And there's actually not a high drop. Once you get in there, it's a pretty good retention. Like people actually do start trading with Point72 after the academy. So I was surprised at that. I thought there'd be a lot of drop off, and they'd probably filter and kind of get rid of a lot of the people after the academy. But it looks like the initial filter of getting into the academy is super tough. So it doesn't hurt to apply. Moose asks on YouTube, is moving from Boston to NYC possible in finance? Yes. Anything's possible. I mean, the vague questions, guys, like, is this possible? Yeah, I think anything is really possible. It's just really who you know, right? And what your experience in Boston is. And when you say finance is just such a blanket term. What do you mean in finance? Equity research, sales and trading, investment banking, corporate finance, FLDP, FP&A. So there's just a whole world of finance, right? So it depends what your experience in Boston is and what you're aiming for in New York City. If you're aiming for something in New York City that's very similar to what you're doing in Boston, then absolutely it's possible. It happens all the time. So let's see what else is going on. How realistic are freshman year investment banking internships? Realistic? How likely it is you're going to get one? Pretty tough to get. But you need to go like way down the line of like tiny no-name boutiques. Like just to get something on the resume is ideal. Anything where you can do like, even if it's total bullshit work, like even if it's like, hey, you just put together a few pitches, or you just like did some database work. If you can just do that and just look through a model they did, or like run some DCF analysis for them on a deal they already did or something, you at least put that on your resume. Like the key is to try and just get something relevant to show you know what investment banking is. Let's see what else we got here. So guys, yeah, Ronate asks, is it possible to place in the US if I'm going to school in Canada as an international? My school has a strong pipeline to Evercore and many other banks. Ronate, yeah, it's absolutely possible. I mean, if the pipeline says it all. In terms of the specific visa issues, I think we actually have a podcast coming out soon that talks a lot about visas specifically. So keep an eye out for that. But if the pipeline's strong and you're going for some of the larger banks, I would assume, yes, they could sponsor. So it gets harder as you move down market and go smaller banks. A lot of them are not willing to go through that hassle of doing a sponsorship. Somebody asks on Instagram, Kashavi says, sorry, I'm blind. You might say Kashav or L3 or something like that. Is there a big drop off from the top 7 MBAs to the other top 20? It kind of depends on the careers you're targeting. So for investment banking, I would say no. It gets incrementally harder as you get further down that list to land at a top bank. But let's say you're like a career switcher and you say, hey, I really want to go into investment banking. You didn't get into an M7, but you got into like, one of the top 20 MBA programs. If you look at the placement stats, I'm pretty sure a lot of the kids coming out of one of those top 20s is going to investment banking or management consulting at a McKinsey, Bain, BCG. Maybe not a McKinsey, Bain, BCG as frequently, but an Accenture, Oliver Wyman type role, or maybe they're not going to all Goldman, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley like a Stanford, Wharton, and Harvard grads are going to, but maybe they're going more to like a Rothschild or a Houlihan or a middle market bank. So what I'll say is there a big drop off? It depends what you mean by drop off. If you mean career placements, no, it's traditionally going to be a little bit harder to break into the kind of the top names. They're probably going to be, you have to be more at the top of your class, but it's definitely not impossible. I know all the top banks probably recruit around the top 20 MBAs. So I think when you start getting outside of that, it starts getting noticeably harder. You start getting kind of bigger drop-offs. Now, if you're looking for like a private equity role or a top hedge fund role or these other kind of top roles, I think that's where you start to see a bigger drop-off outside the M7. Just because those jobs, even if you're at a top 3 MBA, top 7 MBA, even there, it's super low odds. So if you start now talking about, the 15th rank MBA, it's going to be a super long shot. But again, I never like to say never, because so much of success is really just driven by who you know. And again, I don't want to call it networking. I want to call it relationship building. It's the relationships you've built. So just say somebody from Tuck can't get like an incredible private equity job over somebody from HBS. Yes, absolutely. Because maybe there's an alum at Tuck that's gonna pull for that Tucky. So remember that. But if you want like odds and placement stats and all that stuff, the schools publish all that stuff. There's a good site called Poets and Quants that does a lot more MBA stats and placement stats and stuff like that. I'd check them out if you're interested in MBA. And then also, if you're looking for more specifics, we have a business school forum right here, which I'm pulling up on the YouTube, that can kind of, one of the top things is an MBA from Yale worth a Yale versus Harvard undergrad. What else should I? So this talks about, our forum talks under both undergrad and MBA. So, but you can take a look. All right, guys, one more. See what we got here. Let's see here. Nicolo Panizzi says, currently working in LevFin as a senior analyst. When do you think is the best time to break into private equity? Nicolo, it's always a good time to be building relationships in private equity. When's the best time? If you're a senior analyst, you've already been, I think in Europe, it tends to be a little bit longer. So I know in the US, the traditional on-cycle private equity recruiting is super early, like right when kids hit the desk and are out of training. Traditionally, that got all thrown out the window with COVID. And I think now it's a little bit closer to like what Europe's doing, where it's, 2, 3, 4 years even at the bank before they go. But if you're in like year 2 or year 3, you're senior analyst, so it sounds like you're probably year 3 in LevFin. I think now's a great time to be talking to people. It's pretty traditional to be 3 years and go. So yeah, I would be starting those conversations now, because it could take 6 months, it could take a year to get into the right processes. And you can talk to all the typical names of recruiters and headhunters, and you can do a quick search on WSO saying, top private equity recruiters, and maybe type in Europe or something. And you'll see lists. There's tons of threads in terms of who's best. So that's all good. Hey, Aaron, how's life? Life's good. Thanks for joining. I think that's it for now, everybody. I'm going to call it, but all my monkeys, say goodbye. Say bye. Wait, I got one more. Bye, guys. Thanks for joining. Oh, for all the YouTubers. Didn't see it. Bye, everybody.